Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Friday, following the loss, that we need each other. It shows with our shot selection and our shot quality. You've said that before, but I'm curious if you can elaborate on that a little bit more and how you're hoping the guys respond to that just team unity message.
Yeah, I think we're unified. I think those things that I mentioned really impact the game in multiple ways. And I think that the overriding message for us is we need to defend. We're not a great defensive team. We're challenged in some ways. We've got a couple guys that are really impactful, but we need to defend as a team. Rebounding is the most obvious part of that. And again, we just have to have a tenacity and kind of be scrappy. And we've had that at various times this year. And I think as we've had what are significant changes with our group, there's a process by which a new team essentially has to craft its identity, and that identity is the same. There's an understanding again of the way that we need to play to be successful. So those things I was referencing, specific types of passing the ball ahead in transition allows us to play with more pace. When we get in the lane and break the paint, having our eyes out and passing the ball out allows us to get more catch and shoot threes, which are obviously highly efficient shots. When we're getting our shot blocked, when we go to the rim, it's a pretty good indication that maybe there was an opportunity to get off the ball earlier. So, with a new group, something as simple as spacing is new. There's some things that we do spacing that are very much like a play. There are things we work on. All those things, we need to continue to do, whether it's just with the time that we have. Today, we're spending time and, a little more than a walkthrough, trying to, continue to drill some of those things and familiarize guys where it's hard to develop habits, at this point in the year. But I think we all, I know for me, I really want us to play well during this homestand, and for us, yes, for our fans as well, and I think that can happen, but we need to focus on the defensive end and the things that we can control, and continue to be committed to a style of play that had us leading the league in assists. That's who we have to be. And just because you're there doesn't mean you stay there. And with 7 new players, half of our team is new, so it's integrating those guys into that mindset as well. So we all need each other to do those things. Is really what I was driving at. It's a long answer, but the things that I, elaborated on. It's not the two of us passing the ball back and forth. It's situational things that are important to make us successful.
With the defense, it seems that the times where you guys have success, on-ball defense is really good. You're not getting broken down, or you're not trying to get out to challenge threes. What have you seen as far as defense when guys do get broken down and it forces the help, and then you guys are running off, and guys get wide open threes?
Yeah, well, you're going to give up some threes, particularly if you want. For us to take the rim away, it requires more than Onyeka coming over at 6'8". We have to be in really tight rotations. And to your point, Brian, guarding the ball is tremendously important. We did a good job of that against Philly. Dyson and Nikhil were on edge coming Maxey. That helps. So I think for our group, it goes back to collectively, our shifts. When there is a matchup on the ball, or the offensive player is quicker than you, or teams that do drive the ball, it puts more pressure on those. Hopefully you can stay out of rotations and you can dictate where you can be, which allows you to actually rotate. but you're in some scramble situations that you work on. Free safety comes over, cornerback drops, peel off, like all those things that you try to do. But in the end, you're still in a closeout situation, and you close out appropriately. And it just has to be continuous and guarding through the entire possession. And it takes 5 guys as solid as McKeel and Dyson are. They can't guard everybody, and they're also 6'6" and 6'5". So, to my earlier point, we need each other, and we need those other guys outside of McKeel and Dyson to be really committed to the things that we can actually control.
Coach, you mentioned some of the new guys on this team, and one of them, Buddy Hield, gets his jersey retired from Oklahoma yesterday. What was it like to see him, get that achievement, and then what do you think maybe a positive impact it could have in the locker room?
Yeah, I'll take the second part of the question first. You've seen Buddy have an impact on his teammates individually, and I think on the team. The spirit that he has, and it's really positive. His experience in the league, he's been in a lot of situations where he's gained knowledge, and he's willing to share that. And I think he does it in a way that is easy to receive, and that's part of who he is. I think he's got a good feel for those situations, and certainly, anytime getting your jersey retired is kind of the ultimate achievement, because it reflects, a body of work, and reflects the impact that he had on that program. And I'm sure he's very proud, but I think the people in Norman are probably even more proud that they got to do that and that he spent that time there.
Coach, I'm curious, you guys are in a unique situation where you may not necessarily be like some of the teams who are having a harder record or worse record than you, but how do you find the balance of developing these guys, finding the right combinations while also trying to win?
Well, that is the $1 million question, right? I think winning is part of development, let me say that. But, you define development in a lot of ways. I think part of that is evaluating. There's a mix between, playing and working. A lot of times the competition that you're involved in at a high level, is able to show you the things you need to work on. But we want to win. Make no mistake about that. And everybody's got to contribute at the level that they're capable of right now. And so, but to have, you also want to have sustainable success. And that's, I think, where the development, plays a role in that, particularly with a younger group where guys are getting opportunities to play. But we're in a very different situation than some other teams. There's 2 guys that are left here from the time that I started. So that means other guys are getting better, and those 2 guys have developed, Jalen and Onyeka. So, and they're helping us win. So you really, they can run concurrently, and to a certain degree, those are decisions that sometimes are difficult to make. But they're not, they're not singular decisions. It's kind of a constant process that is going on, and really happy with some of our younger guys and how they are progressing, and you can see them growing, and the faster or quicker they grow, the better our teams.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.